Okay, so before we get started with postures, we're going to take a look at some props that we might use. There's also a lot more that we could use that I just don't have to my availability or necessarily clients that cultivate the need. So sometimes a blanket spread out over a regular yoga mat might be desired because we sometimes take the postures a little wider or our limbs a little wider, looser, and it just might allow for a bigger space, also for a little bit more cushioning because we are on the ground often, not always, and it can make it a little more comfortable for just people, especially that maybe don't have as much meat on their bones, or if we're on a particular joint, regardless of the size of the individual. So a couple of props that we're probably definitely going to use, a strap. So depending on shoulder availability in yin is probably the most often how I would use a strap. I wouldn't really recommend it for how we might use it with the feet in other styles of yoga. But it still could be to their availability, how they use it. We have this thing called a wrap pad. I don't love the name, but I love this actual prop. Intended for the knees. I think it's also great, could be for under the ankles for some of those postures, maybe like Baddha Konasana, maybe under a hip if we're on our side, under the sacrum, that's how I use it, or maybe even under the nape of the neck. Okay, so it's really versatile and I quite like it. And I also have made my own versions just using old mats, cutting them up. This is like a sort of a template and kind of gluing them together, and it's not as good, but it'll work. And then you also have a bolster. Bolsters come usually to me in this kind of shape. We have sometimes the cushions, the rounder ones, and these are also called bolsters. This is what I think of, and we have a couple of different ways that we could use this. If we don't have access to this, sometimes just taking a really kind of floppy, flimsy bed pillow and just sort of folding it and either taping it, putting it into a case, or if you have a rubber band, some of those bigger rubber bands ladies have, there's lots of different ways you can bring that pillowcase together and create almost this sort of sausage roll, so to speak, as one of my clients calls it, pillow. And then we have blocks. So I have 2 here, and I might even grab some more as I'm talking because we could use quite a few in different postures, sometimes requiring the same amount for everybody, doesn't matter on their availability. Sometimes adding a third block, sometimes a fourth block, depending on the individual's flexibility or aptitude in the pose. Okay, so the last thing I have is the Dharma wheel. And this is, I think, a really great tool for a sort of a yin approach to back bending for people who already have a bit of a flexible back. I think if you don't have a flexible back, it's also still a great tool, but I think it's taking it in a little bit more of a yin capacity. So we're not going to use it today, but I did want to mention it because I quite like it. It's definitely opened up my heart in a lot of ways, and I find it to be a nice restorative sort of approach to some of the other deeper back bending that I might do in other styles of practice. So we're going to get started in one of my favorite postures to begin a class in or into class. And I would say it's not just my favorite, but it's also probably a typical or common place to start, and also a good place to start. So let's talk about the orientation of the bolster. The easiest way is going to be, got some monkeys coming around. Easiest way is going to be the bolster is going to be perpendicular to your spine. And this will provide the most contact for support. A little bit more opening, requiring a little bit more of a availability in the thoracic back would be this way. And then the final, really requiring lots of openness, almost again on par with the Dharma wheel, would be orienting the bolster this way. So I'll show you what I mean. This is quite a deeper bend, maybe not the best way to come in, where this is a much softer approach, more supporting the whole spine and neck, maybe not as opening, okay? So bringing awareness into the feet. Yes, they are together, but they are not pressing together, activating our Pada Bandha as it might be in a full-on Baddha Konasana. So we call it butterfly. The heels are a little wider than the pelvis. So coming into how we orient our legs is really going to be based on our intention. So for instance, if I'm wanting to open the hips, I would recommend, if not sort of mandate, that we use a block, at least at the lowest height, even if your knees can come comfortably down to the floor for quite a while. So if I'm trying to achieve opening either energetically or in a physical sense into the hip space, okay, into the seat, then I want to first start off the class with everyone at least having the lowest height, remembering that there are 3 heights to the blocks. And also noting that if people are quite high, or what we might see as quite high, they can also use 2 different heights. They have one knee that's quite, one hip quite tighter. It would make sense to support that hip where it is, and the other hip where it is resting, where its edge is, going back to the 4 tenets, okay? So if I'm opening the hips, I really want you to be supported in the length, so that again, the hip area is allowed to kind of chill out, and that's where that parasympathetic, sympathetic sort of response is focused, and where the work lies. If I'm here trying to open the heart, then if I don't need it from my hips, I'm just trying to create a little bit more energetic pull out of the hips, let's say, into the heart space, into the chest or the shoulders, depending on where the class will go. Because again, as I said, I usually use this in the beginning, or often in the beginning. This would be a fine option for people who have the availability in the knees. Again, remembering we can make it nice and comfortable, but the idea is not to be comfortable. That will make it restorative. Okay, the idea is to find the edge and support the edge. So little things like a bone on the ground, that's not the edge. That's anatomy meeting another surface, a kind of a friction. So yeah, support an ankle. Maybe place a block or roll another mat is another option, or flipping the mat under for places where the bones are sort of resting onto the earth a little too heavy. So here we are in this position. And I often like to start it here, as opposed to bringing the arms up right away, because I think it's just a little too much in the beginning. And it creates a sense of opening if we start here, which is usually the goal, to open, to release. And over time, if people feel just really comfortable, they start to feel settled, the skeletal framework is aligning, the fascia starts to align, and then some key joints are also opening up, then I think at that point the movement is okay. Not should be encouraged, but is okay if it's isolated to lifting the arms up. But you do want to keep your elbows on the ground here. So I consider myself someone with a flexible back, because you notice my arms all the way extended in this very accessible prop usage, this option. My elbows are still lifted. So you want the elbows to be touching or nearly touching. And that's the highest someone should really go to get the yin effect. When we come up, I usually let the people or sort of cue for the arms to come down this way, kind of swooping our energetic field. Maybe softly using the hands to draw the knees forward. And then kind of scooping under what we might call the belly of the hamstring and walking or pulling the body up. And from here, I just usually like people to wrap their arms around their knees and drop the forehead here. So that's a little bit about Baddha Konasana's yin version, which we call butterfly, or supported butterfly, or in this case, reclined butterfly. We have other options of half butterfly, so taking it out, again, rather soft, taking option of taking it back onto a bolster, or taking it forward. So creating a butterfly that is folded. So again, feet are softer, heels are farther apart, bolsters into the belly for optimal support. Same, making it a little deeper. Create this orientation of the bolster. And just bring the body down very softly, slouchy. And I caution you to remind your clients or yourself to not always go to one side in these postures. Yes, we want to keep it soft and sweet, sort of organic, but we have had some habitual use imbalances in the body, like a stronger dominant hand, for instance. So be cautious when they take these poses that they don't always turn to one side or the other. Maybe letting them have the opportunity just to move the head. And same thing, just coming up very, very slowly. I find this to be such a wonderful posture that it really, to me, should be lingering at that 4-minute kind of starting point, really. By the time people get their cushions, get into the vibe, and this is an opportunity, especially if you use it in the beginning of class, to set an intention, to share the theme, start playing the music, and getting going with the class. And so it's a posture that gives you an availability to set the stage and to get people really into the vibe. Sometimes even I think 5-6 onward minutes is more than appropriate. All right, so we're gonna go on to the next posture.